Hi and welcome back to The Books Are Everywhere. So today I am here with my April wrap up. Considering I wanted April to be a big month, I did not manage to read as much as I wanted to in April, and I also did fall short of completing my magical readathon TBR by like one book, which I'm currently reading, which is The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. But I just wanted to take you through the books I did manage to read in April. I did have a better reading month than I did in March. I read 10 books in April, whereas I think I read 8 books in March. So I am getting better, but I'm hoping that May and June will be the months where I finally do increase the amount that I read in the month. So firstly, I'll just take you through a couple that I actually carried over from previous months and finished finally in April. The first one is Ted Chiang's Stories of Your Life and Others, which I read with my friend Jeff, and we buddy read this one together. This one is a collection of short stories, one of which is what the movie Arrival is based on, which is why we originally read this. And this one was quite a mixed bag for me, I'm not gonna lie. I did like some of the stories. I liked the Arrival story, which is Story of Your Life. I also really liked the first story, which was Tower of Babylon. And there was a couple others that I thought were pretty good. Liking What You See, a documentary, that one was pretty good. That one was the last one. But then some of them just went completely over my head. I think the worst one for me was 72 Letters, which was like 60 pages long nearly. It was such a long story and it just felt like it really didn't interest me at all. It felt like it was really a slog, to be completely honest. But I did still enjoy this overall. I think I liked it, I just didn't love it. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which is kind of balancing out the couple that were like probably 5 stars or nearly 5 stars, and then the others that were like 2 stars, to be honest. Like overall some of them were not great and just didn't keep my attention at all. The good thing about Ted Chiang that I really like is the fact that he has these endings which are really surprising. I feel like he very consistently does that when there's a twist at the very end of the story. And whether I loved or liked or disliked the story, that did seem to be pretty much a continuing theme, which was quite cool to see. But yeah, and also I also like the fact that there was quite a range in here. Like, considering this is sci-fi, there is a lot of like speculative fiction and stuff that you don't think of as general like sci-fi, including like, you know, aliens and planets and things. There's a lot that is like set in the real world or set using like, it's focusing on like AI and things like that. It's more like futuristic, or yeah, it's interesting to see like a diverse range of science fiction rather than just like typical science fiction. So some good points, some not so good points, 3 out of 5 stars overall. The next one I finished in April was Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. I took my time with this one. This one was a reread for me, and I think it just took a backseat because I had read it before, so it wasn't really a priority for me. I did enjoy reading this one, but I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I did the first time, to be completely honest. This is the first book in the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare, which is following these characters in this world where there are like paranormal creatures and demon hunters, which are called shadow hunters, and it's following Tessa, who is kind of arriving into this world for the first time and ends up living with these people that are shadow hunters and finds out that she's also not human along the way. I like the atmosphere of this series because it's set in London in the Victorian times and it's very steampunk, which I really like. And I also like the, not necessarily romance, but the kind of friendships and found family aspect of this book. But it definitely didn't kind of pick up my attention as much as it did the first time. It made me actually want to read more of Cassie Clare's later works, which is good because I need to, because I have a lot on my TBR that I haven't read yet, like the Last Hours trilogy I haven't even started yet because I've been waiting for it to be completed. Same with the Red Scrolls of Magic books, I haven't started that one either, so I'm more excited to pick up those, which I'm glad about. But this one was a 4 out of 5 stars for me this time round. In the month of April, I also read Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which very much pleasantly surprised me. I really love this book. I've heard really good things about Emily Henry's writing, but I wasn't necessarily fully intrigued to actually start one of her books. Finally did in the month of April, and I really love this one. This one is following Nora, who is a cutthroat literary agent, and she's working a lot. She's at the top of her game. It's also following Charlie, who is an editor with a gift for creating bestsellers. At the start of the book, they kind of meet and have a bit of a rivalry going on in their kind of line of work. Nora is then persuaded to take a holiday to Sunshine Falls by her sister, so she goes away with her sister for like a month-long holiday in this book, which is all in this place, which is also the setting of a book that she really likes and is one that she kind of had a discussion about with Charlie. She's then in the local coffee shop in the Sunshine Falls and she bumps into Charlie and finds out why is he there as well. So I really did enjoy this. I liked the setting a lot, really liked the romance, and I also love the relationship between the two sisters. I was so intrigued and so engaged in this story. By the end I was actually quite emotional, and I listened to the audiobook of this one, which I also really liked. I really liked the audio. I thought it was really well done, and as I said, I was really invested by the end. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars to this one. I then read Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry, which turned out to be another 5 out of 5 stars for me. This one was absolutely lovely, cozy fantasy. It's following Viv, who is an orc. She's a retired orc, so she's no longer going around and killing people and doing what orcs do. She's decided to settle down and retire and open a coffee shop in this town where they actually haven't come across coffee before. So she's found coffee on her travels and she kind of wants to bring it to the local community, but she quickly realises that she's going to need some help along the way to open this coffee shop, and she kind of talks to people in the town to get their assistance and make some friends along the way. It is exactly how it sounds. It's so cozy, it's so lovely. It's about friendship and relationships, and the people in here are just adorable and I love them. And I love that this included food and coffee, and it made me hungry and want to eat the food that's in here because it's like cinnamon buns and it sounds so good. It has such a cozy atmosphere and you can just really fall between the pages of this. I just wanted to pick it up and read it all the time and be in this world, so high praise indeed. It was a 5 out of 5 stars from me for this one. I then read Side Splitter by Phil Wang, which I've given to my mum to read, so I'll put a photo of the cover here for you. I did enjoy this one quite a lot. Again, I listened to this one on audio. Phil Wang is a comedian. He's a Eurasian comedian who lives in the UK, and this is basically kind of part memoir and part like, not self-help, but it's a kind of maybe more popular science. It discusses quite a lot of different themes in here. We do have a lot of obviously his reflections on his own life, including talking about his family and his love life, but then we also have some topics like racism, and we also had a chapter on what is the word? I studied it. Linguistics. Linguistics, which I found really interesting because, as I said, I studied linguistics and I love linguistics. I think it's super interesting, and talking about language fascinates me. So I really enjoyed listening to that like part of the book. It's also read by him, which is great because his sense of humour comes across perfectly. I personally love Phil Wang as a comedian. I think he's really funny whenever I've seen him do stand-up on TV. So I was very intrigued to finally pick up this memoir, which was actually sent to me by the publisher when it came out, which was like 2021 maybe, so this has been on my shelf for quite a while now and I'm really glad that I finally picked it up. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I then listened to 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. I was a little hesitant going into this because I really didn't like Once and Future Witches, which is Alex E. Harrow's later release. This is, I think, her debut. This one is a fantasy, but it's more like a magical realism, kind of similar to The Night Circus, The Starless Sea, and also has like notes of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is my favourite book ever, and this one was suggested to me as part of the Magical Readathon prompt to read a book similar to your favourite book, so I picked this one because I saw it on a few lists of books that are similar to Addie LaRue, and I can definitely see in the way that this is written and the language that it uses how it's similar to Addie and how it's similar to The Night Circus and The Starless Sea. I did really like the writing. I think that was probably my favourite part of this book overall, is that the writing was melodic and beautiful and poetic, and I really loved that, and I felt like it did envelop me in the world quite a lot. But I haven't told you what this is even about. This is following January, who grows up as this kind of ward of this man who keeps kind of lots of different things in his house, and including January basically, and it's following her as she finds this book, and when she realises that she can kind of use this book to open a door to another world. hence the 10,000 Doors of January. It is a beautiful story. I feel like it did lose me a bit at the end, and I kind of lost the plot of what was actually happening towards the end, but the writing really saved it for me, and I did really love that about the story. I just feel like I could have been enveloped a little bit more and kind of felt like there was a lot going on and a lot of like characters, so I didn't really, don't know, hit it off with them as much maybe, or maybe started to lose interest a little bit towards the end, but I did still really enjoy this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I then read Death of a Bookseller by Alice Slater, which came out on the 27th of April, so you can pick this one up now. This one is a proof copy that the publisher sent me, so thank you to them for this copy. I did really enjoy this one. It is perfect for Waterstones booksellers or anyone who has any kind of interest in what it's like to be a bookseller, because this one is set in a shop that's called Spines, which is basically, I see it as Waterstones. A lot of the references that were made in here were very reminiscent of my time as a bookseller at Waterstones, and this is like a chain of bookshops in this book, and it was so interesting to see the bookseller in here, the booksellers in here. So it's following these 2 booksellers, one of which is called Roach and the other is called Laura. Roach is very dark as a character. She's obsessed with true crime and murder podcasts, and Laura joins the shop, and she's this kind of pretty girl who's obsessed with like poetry and always has like matching shoes to her makeup or like her accessories and things like that. So they are quite opposite characters, and Roach kind of develops a bit of an obsession with Laura, and Laura also has quite a dark past, which was very intriguing. This is also told in dual perspective, and the chapters are incredibly short, so it was really compelling. I didn't want to put this book down. I just wanted to carry on and see what was happening. It's also set in Walthamstow, which is a place I am very familiar with, and it's set in a time when I was actually in Walthamstow quite a lot in 2019. So I really loved exploring these streets as I know them quite well, and the places that I know quite well, because it is set in a very real Walthamstow, mentioning pubs and restaurants that are no longer there, like Mirth. So it was nice to actually like relive that in these pages a little bit, even though it was also really dark and had a lot of like murder, but it was really cool in a way to like go through that with these characters. So go through like Walthamstow with these characters, I mean, and it definitely kept me reading the book, the like murder side, the dark side of it. So a lot of pluses for this one. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars as well. And the next one I read was Sinister Spring by Agatha Christie. This one is a collection of short stories by Agatha Christie which are set around spring, although I can't say that it was mentioned that much throughout these short stories. And I listened to this one on audiobook too for the most part, and finished off reading it physically. And I kind of am learning that I'm not a big fan of the short stories that Agatha Christie writes. I much prefer the full-length novels when I can get fully invested in the story and actually try and work out who the murderer is. I feel like with a short story you don't really get that much time with the characters, and you can't really envelop yourself in the story enough to be like, oh, I wonder what's going on, I wonder whether that person's the murderer or not. Some of them, obviously, as is with all short story collections, some of them hit the spot more than others, and some of them just really didn't impress me that much. So it was really a mixed bag in here. I think the earlier ones definitely I enjoyed more than the later ones, generalising a bit there, but definitely enjoyed the earlier ones more. So I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. I did still enjoy it, and I really enjoyed some of the stories, but some of them I just couldn't really focus on, or didn't really care enough to want to carry on reading them, because it is just, I just don't think that her writings are suited to short stories, to be completely honest. That's just my personal opinion. I obviously will still continue to read her books though, and read her short stories as well, as some of them I did enjoy. And the last one I read is Golden Boys by Phil Stamper, and I really enjoyed this book. I read As Far As You'll Take Me by Phil Stamper last year, and although I enjoyed it, it was definitely a 3-star for me. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And this one, I think I actually really loved it. It was really fun. It was really interesting to follow these 4 boys. This is following Sal, Heath, Reese and Gabriel, who are all going off to different corners of the world for the summer before their last year of high school. So one of them is going to Paris to study, one of them is going to Daytona Beach to work at an arcade with his auntie. One of them has gone to the capital to work in politics for the summer, and the other one has gone to Boston to work for this like tree charity. They are all also experiencing some feelings, I guess. So 2 of them are like friends with benefits and the other 2 are crushing on each other, but they don't know that the other one likes them. So it's a bit messy, but it's also like, it's a joy to follow them, and I just found it really fun. I really liked how we kept flicking between all of these characters. It made the book feel really quick and fast paced and you just wanted to carry on reading them. It's also got very short chapters and even some parts that are just like texts or video transcripts from like video calls, which makes it really quick to read as well. There's even a few like journal entries. I felt really invested in their stories and I just found it really fun to follow all of their different stories as well, see where everything was going and see all of their friendships just grow over the course of the summer and them grow over the course of the summer in their different roles. So I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars and I read it pretty much in 24 hours. So that is all the books that I managed to actually read and finish in April, and I'm now reading The Wolf Den, as I said, by Elodie Harper, and I also have already read a graphic novel in May, so we're starting off May quite strong and hopefully it'll be a good reading month. But I did enjoy what I read in April. I feel like I had a few 5 stars in there, so that is pretty good going. I hope you've enjoyed this video and hopefully I'll see you in another one. Bye!